So, hi everyone, welcome to the podcast. So, today we're joined by a very amazing guest, Abhinav Das, who's the co founder of Orangewood Labs, a Y Combinator kind of startup. And they're making the very interesting thing they're doing is they're building made in India robots. So, hi Abhinav. So, firstly, I'd like to start with I heard on a podcast that you went on recently where you shared something about like eating 6 bananas a day or something. So, I'm curious to know, apart from this, like, what all did you have to do and what all did you have to struggle with as a co-founder and as a founder yourself?
Uh, yeah, that was for my previous company. I was broke, and I think this was back in 2013, where I was working on my previous company, and I was broke, and just to make up for the calorific count, I had to do this. And because bananas have like the best calorific value for the money. I remember at that time I was buying like 6 bananas for 10 rupees. So I think that was the only motivation to have 6 bananas. Yeah, yeah. It was a hard time, but yeah, I did. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed it as well, right? Like, it's one of those things where you go through something really hard just to know that you can do something which is, which becomes very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, you seem to have gone through quite a few tough times, especially like the bananas thing. So my next question is more like the builder mentality in India. So you're one of like the true builders that I've seen in India. So like what's your take on the builders mentality in India? Like how do we get more builders to be building in India versus saying going abroad?
Well, I've actually moved abroad, so I don't know if I'm the right person. But yeah, my motivation has been to, kind of grow my business in the US, and not just because that was the only place where we could build. In fact, a very large portion of our research and development happens in India, and we are committed to investing in India as well. One of the things which I believe now is that uh, as like someone who's like as builders, we need to understand where are people coming from who are trying to stop you from building, right? Like either it's teachers or parents. I so how are they thinking about building? And it's about like creative expression, right? Whatever you build, that's your creative expression. The reason why an artist would create art or why would a painter would paint. This is what, you know, this is what I believe that uh, in any person who's building a new thing would be building. So yeah, I mean, uh, my suggestion would be don't stop, don't listen to anyone, just go and build, go and prototype. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Actually, I had some issues on my end. Starting Orangewood Labs with humble beginnings. So, what was that like starting Orangewood Labs, and then how did YC come into the picture? Like, what did it take to get into YC as well for all the aspiring founders out there, people who are tuning in today? Like, what could you say on that front?
Well, we actually pivoted post YC. So we were earlier a furniture company. We are building furniture using robots, and basically we built a CNC machine in my parents' basement, and out of that we would go and sell furniture to co-working spaces. And this is I'm talking about 2016, 2017, 2018, where the co-working spaces, the whole industry was kind of on a upward trend. Um, and all of them required new and customized furniture, and we were the only people who could give them that very very quickly. And I think after so we basically got like one such co-working space, and then we got the second one and the third one, and then after that we got into Y Combinator. We had like roughly $8,000 of revenue at the time, and post that we got into Y Combinator. At Y Combinator, I think our what the YC partners liked was our vision, and they could see the efficiency gains we were doing. And one of the things which they liked was how tight the founders were. So this is one of the criterias. If you are trying to build something, build it with someone who you are tight with, because you'll always run into problems. You will always run into creative differences, and unless you have that deep respect and love for your co-founders, you can never really, build a company. So this is one of the criteria which YC definitely looks for. Uh, During the interview, it becomes very, very clear. Yeah. So that is one. I think for founders, I would say that, if you could validate your ideas in some way, one way is to get traction. One way is to uh, get enough people to say that it is something which is required by the world. That is one thing which scores really high into getting into YC. Yeah.
For sure, I think that was some solid advice, and I just wanted to like ask you, like, since you're at YC and stuff, like, did you ever interact with Sam Altman, and what was the best advice that he gave to you?
Mm, yeah, I mean, my interaction with Sam Altman hasn't been that much. Uh, we know him very well because he was our batch part. I mean, he was the president during of YC during my time. And one of the things which I remember, one of the things which he said to the whole batch was, you know, was about doing a hard startup versus doing an easy startup. So one of the things he said was, if you choose to do a hard startup, you will find people who want to do that because those problems are more interesting to work on. And you kind of get into that, you kind of see a lot of these tailwinds will push you forward. And this is something which I've found a lot of times. A lot of our investors, a lot of people who work with us, they are with us because we are trying to solve something which is very hard. So yeah, I think that was one personal advice, one advice which Sam Altman has given us.
That's very interesting, like that you got this advice from Sam Altman. So my next question is more like, so you guys are building robots made in India for India. So like, could you just share like how did you come up with this like made in India brand, and like what all does it take to build something in India?
Yeah, I mean, we are not just building for India. That is very clear. We have markets in both in India and US. And I mean, there was no there's no specific reason as such. I mean, because we were from India and we built this in our basements, it became very easy to do it here. One of the things which I would still like to add is that you do have a lot of talent which wants to build these things. So we find ourselves lucky because we do get that talent who wants to work on robots and they don't actually have a chance. One of the easiest thing is to probably go abroad, and we believe that we are able to give people that opportunity. Yeah, I think that's the way I would think about this. Apart from that, if you're talking about markets, mm, we build what we've seen is that everywhere in the world, we don't have enough people. We don't have enough 20-year-olds who want to work as, let's say, baristas or welders. And this is a much bigger problem in developed nations like US. In India, it's kind of there. It's there, but we still don't see it. because we do have a very large population. But then in the US, you do see it very clearly. You'll see a lot of factories being closed because they cannot find people. So, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest motivation for us to build robots.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you guys are building robots in India and like catering to the mass market of US and like other markets. So that's pretty interesting. So my next and last question for you is, so why are you so bullish on hardware? Like, what could you say on that front?
Well, first of all, it's about control, right? If you have like for a very, very long time, it was, easier to just do, or rather, your mode would have been just the software. That's not the case anymore. Building easier has become extremely easy. You could literally get any code snippet out of ChatGPT. You don't need to actually learn a lot in computer science to now write the best software in the world. Plus, a lot of things, a lot of software problems have become very commoditized. Like most of enterprise SaaS is going to be commoditized. Any group of three kids in a dorm can actually build something which, let's say, Salesforce has been able to do for the past 15 years. Um, so I believe that people are going to move towards, solving harder problems, and a lot of that is going to happen in hardware. Um, yeah, I mean, for us, like from business perspective, it gives us a lot of control over, what we can do. Uh, we can give the best user experience if it's our own hardware. We can solve a lot of problems which was not possible if we were using somebody else's hardware. Yeah, and yeah, we could actually make it more affordable. So.
Yeah, those are some really great insights into like why you're so bullish on hardware. So yeah, it was amazing experience hosting you on the podcast today. And like do share like how the audience can get in touch and learn more about what you guys are building at Orangewood Lab.
Absolutely. People can follow me on Twitter or Orangewood Labs on Twitter. Um, Apart from that, my DMs are open on Twitter, so please feel free to message me if they want to get in touch. Yeah,
Sure. So thank you for like your patience, and we had some difficulties, I guess some internet issues from my end. So apologies on that front. But yeah, thank you for your understanding on that front.
no problem. Yeah, great chatting with you.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you as well.
Yeah, thanks.